Today I will be doing a season review for the San Jose Sharks. Heading into this season, the San Jose Sharks had a lot of uncertainty surrounding them. With a new head coach, an older group of core players, and an unproven number one goalie, the San Jose Sharks were a team that were slept on by many experts. There were not a lot of experts that picked San Jose to be in the finals, let alone make the playoffs, let alone make the finals in the Stanley Cup. So it was a shock to many people in the hockey world that they made the Stanley Cup finals. So that is a huge accomplishment for the San Jose Sharks. The San Jose Sharks became one of the elite teams in the NHL this season due to Pavelski and Thornton becoming one of the elite dynamic duos in the NHL. That has already been established for many seasons, but right now, Joe Pavelski is one of the premier scorers in the NHL. In the past 4 seasons in the NHL, Joe Pavelski has scored more goals than any player in the NHL, behind only Alex Ovechkin. Joe Thornton is still as effective as ever. He is still a really good playmaking center and still uses his size to his advantage. He's still really tough to knock off the puck, and he uses his IQ and his vision to make others around him better. That's why Thornton and Pavelski are such a hard duo to stop. Next, Martin Jones was an unproven number one goalie heading into this season. But however, any questions that he could be a good number one goalie quickly diminished when he got off to a tremendous start to the season. Martin Jones is now a really good number one goalie, and he looks to be a steal for his contract. He signed for another 2 years at $3 million, which is an absolutely good contract for Martin Jones. Martin Jones, you can argue, stole some games in the finals for the San Jose Sharks, and he played well enough to lead the Sharks to the Stanley Cup finals. You don't make the finals without good goaltending. End of conversation. And the emergence of Brent Burns as an elite offensive defenseman at the back end turned San Jose into an offensive threat. Brent Burns, before the last 2 seasons, had some defensive liabilities, and he wasn't as prolific offensively. He could chip it offensively, but he wasn't that prolific. Now he's a prolific offensive scorer that jumps into the plate and can definitely contribute offensively. You can now put him in the ranks of one of the premier offensive defensemen in the league. Logan Couture and Patrick Marleau are the last 2 of the core 4 players in San Jose. Logan Couture was one of the best players in the playoffs, despite having a subpar regular season, in part due to injury. Logan Couture was one of the huge reasons why the San Jose Sharks did so well in the playoffs. Logan Couture is going to be a huge part of the San Jose Sharks going forward, as he is one of the younger pieces of the core, and they're going to have to rely on him going forward. Patrick Marleau has only 1 more year left on his deal, and you can see that, unlike Thornton, Marleau's game has dropped off a bit. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Marlowe going forward. But Patrick Marlowe should still be an important part of the San Jose Sharks. I don't expect him to be traded because he has a very limited no-trade clause and he carries a $6 million cap hit. But stranger things have happened. Next, I will be talking about the San Jose Sharks Cup run to the finals. Like I said before, not many experts picked the San Jose Sharks to reach the Stanley Cup finals. They made the Stanley Cup finals due to good goaltending, contribution from role players, and the production of core players like Thornton, Pavelski, Marlowe, and Couture, as well as Thomas Hertl, and good goaltending from Martin Jones, and Brent Burns chipped in as well. The key role players like Joel Ward, Jonas Donskoy, and Milk Carlson, along the lines with Paul Martin, Justin Braun, all those players are a very important part of the San Jose Sharks team, but they don't get as much spotlight as the main core four players in San Jose. They made many upsets in the playoffs, including wins over the LA Kings in the first round and a win over the St. Louis Blues in the third round, only to lose to the Pittsburgh Penguins in the Stanley Cup Finals. But just to beat the LA Kings and the St. Louis Blues in the playoffs is an accomplishment in itself, because those are two of the top teams in the Western Conference. Not many people predicted that the San Jose Sharks would be the team to win the Western Conference, but they beat the odds, and they did it. They made it to the Stanley Cup Finals, and they should be very proud of themselves for making the Stanley Cup Finals, even though they lost. But, of course, they're not going to be satisfied, but I guess that can be a consolation prize, being that they were a huge underdog the whole season. There is nothing people like better than an underdog story. And that is exactly what the San Jose Sharks are this season. Next, I'm going to be talking about breaking the curse with the St. Louis Blues.